In the United Kingdom, a nation once celebrated as the cradle of parliamentary democracy and individual liberty, free speech is under siege. The recent establishment of a specialized police unit to monitor online anti-migrant activity represents yet another alarming step toward the total erasure of dissenting voices. This move, announced amid growing protests over immigration policies, is ostensibly aimed at preventing unrest, but in reality, it empowers the state to police opinions and stifle legitimate concerns about uncontrolled migration. As the UK grapples with record net migration levels exceeding 700,000 annually in recent years, and the strain on public services, housing, and cultural cohesion, the government's response isn't to address these issues head on, but to silence those who dare to question them. You know, from a perspective that champions free speech as the cornerstone of a free society, this development isn't just overreach, it's a deliberate lurch toward authoritarianism, where the state decides what constitutes acceptable discourse on one of the most pressing debates of our time, immigration. The new police unit, housed within the National Police Coordination Center and tasked with maximizing social media intelligence, is framed by officials as a tool for public safety. Yet critics rightly argue it goes far beyond that, venturing into the realm of thought policing. Nigel Farage, leader of Reform UK, has branded it sinister, warning that it marks the beginning of state-controlled free speech. And on this, he and I agree. Shadow Home Secretary Chris Philp has echoed this, accusing the Labour government of prioritizing the monitoring of opinions over actual street policing. This initiative coincides with the rollout of the UK Online Safety Act, which has already led to reports of website disruptions, content censorship, limited VPN effectiveness as big tech complies with government demands. You know, from several posts and screenshots of account problems that I've seen recently, even Elon Musk's X is caving to the pressure. But in the context of the immigration debate, where public anxiety over asylum hotels housing migrants at taxpayer expense has sparked widespread protests, this monitoring serves to criminalize expressions of frustration. Rather than engaging with concerns about economic strain, cultural integration, or the perceived favoritism toward migrants, such as providing them with hotel accommodations while British homeless veterans are left on the streets, the state opts to surveil and suppress. This erodes the fundamental right to free expression, turning social media into a sort of panopticon where citizens self-censor for fear of reprisal, ultimately weakening democratic discourse on immigration reform. This isn't an isolated incident, but part of a broader pattern of government measures designed to silence free speech under the guise of protecting society. The UK has long imposed restrictions on expression through laws like the Malicious Communications Act of 1988 and the Communications Act of 2003, which criminalize threatening or abusive online content that often applied vaguely to suppress controversial issues. Or controversial views. More recently, the Online Safety Act empowers the government to silence user speech and even imprison those posting harmful messages, including content deemed to incite hate or misinformation. But the problem here is that the government gets to be the arbiters of what defines these terms. Hate speech legislation has been weaponized to prosecute individuals for expressing views on immigration, religion, or gender, with authorities arresting people for social media posts that merely offend. For instance, the government's crackdown on non-crime hate incidents, whatever in the hell that is, allows police to record and investigate complaints about speech that isn't even legal, creating a chilling effect. In the immigration sphere, these tools have been used to target critics of open borders, such as during the 2024 riots, where far-right voices were swiftly censored while pro-migrant narratives flourished unchecked. The Labour government's 2025 immigration white paper, which tightens rules on visas and asylums but ignores public input, further exemplifies this. Instead of fostering debate, it pairs reforms with increased surveillance to quash opposition. These measures collectively represent a systematic assault, really, on free speech, prioritizing ideological conformity over the robust exchange of ideas essential to resolving the immigration crisis. Compounding this erosion is the blatant two-tiered policing that favors left-wing protesters while harshly penalizing those on the right, revealing a deep bias in how free speech is enforced. Progressive causes such as Black Lives Matter demonstrations in 2020 saw minimal arrests despite instances of violence, property damage, and breaches of COVID lockdowns. Police even knelt in solidarity, and very few faced jail time for their actions. In contrast, right-wing protesters expressing anti-immigration views are met with aggressive tactics, swift arrests, and lengthy sentences for what amounts to political speech. The 2024 summer riots sparked by immigration tensions led to nearly 800 arrests, with many receiving prison terms for inciting unrest via social media or protests. This disparity clearly stems from political pressure, with police showing leniency toward left-leaning or minority-led protests while cracking down on conservative right-wing gatherings. A stark example is the treatment of climate activists from groups like Just Stop Oil, who block roads and vandalize property with impunity, rarely jailed despite repeated offenses, versus anti-lockdown protesters during the pandemic who faced heavy fines and arrests for their demonstrations. This bias extends to immigration protests. Left-wing counter-demonstrators at asylum hotels often escape scrutiny, while right-wing participants are labeled extremists and prosecuted. A recent illustration of this injustice is the arrest of my friend James Harvey this weekend. Harvey, a 22-year-old activist and founder of Students Against Tyranny, was detained on July 26, just before a planned demonstration against migrant hotels in Norwich. Charged with racially aggravated public order offenses for allegedly calling migrants foreign filth during a prior protest, his arrest, captured on doorbell footage, highlights how speech critical of immigration is equated with criminality. Now, James has publicly stated that police took his words out of context, but context or not, arresting a British patriot simply for insults or hurting the feelings of others isn't free speech, it's communism. Such language is political expression in the heat of debate over asylum policies that prioritize foreigners over citizens. Compare this to left-wing protesters chanting inflammatory slogans against police or conservatives during BLM rallies who face no such repercussions. Harvey's case underscores the hypocrisy. The right is jailed for words while the left marches, destroys, and assaults freely. Ultimately, these encroachments on free speech are inextricably linked to the UK's immigration debate, where silencing dissent prevents meaningful solutions. With Labour's pledge to reduce net migration through visa restrictions and anti-smuggling efforts falling short amid ongoing protests, the government's focus on monitoring critics diverts attention from core issues like border security, economic dependency on overseas workers, and the integration failures fueling public discontent. By treating anti-migrant sentiment as a threat rather than a symptom, authorities exacerbate divisions, eroding trust in democracy. A truly free society must allow robust debate on immigration without fear of state retribution. If the UK continues down this path, it risks becoming a place where free speech is a relic and the immigration crisis festers unresolved. British patriots must stand firm, protect speech, address migration honestly, and reclaim your liberties before it's too late.